So Arjun says, I want to see all of these people who have gathered on this battlefield to fight with each other. I want to see all of them before the war starts. And he's saying, Pata nahi, when will I be able to see them again? So Krishna brings the chariot in between both the armies. And Krishna purposely brings the chariot in front of Bhishma and Drona. He does not bring it in front of Duryodhan and Dushasan. Now, ऐसा क्यों किया? So we will see that when we reach to that particular verse, which is verse number 24 and 25 in the first chapter. So within 2 or 3 classes we will reach over there. तो हम लोग वो देख लेंगे वो टाइम पे. And then Arjun, after seeing Bhishma and Drona, he feels very compassionate कि ये सारे मेरे लोग हैं. Will I be fighting these people? Will I be killing these people? And for what? Just for a piece of land? Is it worth it? Those people who raised me from my childhood, who protected me, who taught me so many things, and I'm now standing in front of both of them and wanting to kill them. Is it right? This is what Arjun thinks. And that's when he puts forward 4 arguments in front of Krishna, and he tells Krishna, I don't want to fight. Na yotsyaiti govindam, he sots, I don't want to fight. And then बाद में Krishna starts Bhagavad Gita. So first chapter में we will see the opening verse of Bhagavad Gita has been spoken by a person like Dhritarashtra. We know Dhritarashtra was not a saintly person. Yeah, he was a evil-minded person. So a book like Bhagavad Gita is opened up by a person like Dhritarashtra. So first chapter mein there are 3 speakers. Dhritarashtra, who speaks the only verse in the whole of Bhagavad Gita. So there are 700 verses in Bhagavad Gita spread across 18 chapters. Dhritarashtra opens it up. The only verse he spoke is the first verse. And then Sanjay starts speaking, and then Arjun starts speaking. And Sanjay speaks only in the first chapter, the second chapter, the 11th chapter, and the 18th chapter. Whereas Arjun speaks in many other chapters. And Krishna speaks from the second chapter, 11th verse से भगवद गीता टेक्निकली चालू होती है, but he speaks the second and third verse also. But दोनों में difference है, and we will see what that difference is. कि what Krishna says in the second and third verse of the second chapter compared to the 11th verse of the second chapter. कि दोनों में क्या difference है. And ऐसे करते करते we reach to the 18th chapter. Okay. We will be covering more and more points as and when we progress on these verses. Okay. So the format of the class we will generally follow is I will speak the verse, and you can unmute yourself and you can also repeat the verse. Then one of you should read the translation. Yeah? And if the purport is small, we will read the purport. Otherwise, we will skip the purport and we'll look at the main points of the verse only. And at any point of time, when you have any question, please feel free to interrupt me. We will take that question and then we will move ahead. Is that okay? Any question, any suggestion on the format or anything, please feel free. Okay, so let's take Krishna's holy name. Let's chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra once before we start the first verse of the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. So you can unmute yourself and let's chant the Hare Krishna mantra together. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Ram,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Let's pray to Lord Krishna and Srila Prabhupada that we should be able to understand Bhagavad Gita very well and also apply in our life. Okay, so we'll start the first verse. Dhritarashtra Uvacha
Uvacha,
Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre
धर्मक्षेत्रे
क्षेत्रे
कुरुक्षेत्रे
कुरुक्षेत्रे
समवेतायुयुत्सवः
समवेतायुयुत्सवः
समवेतायुत्सवः
मामकाः पाण्डवाश्चैव
मामकाः
मामकाः पाण्डवैश्चैव
पाण्डवाश्चैव
किमकुर्वत सञ्जय
किम्
किमकुर्वत
अकुर्वत
सञ्जय
सञ्जय.
one of you can chant meaning speak the translation. Anybody?
Yes, Prabhuji, मैं पढ़ता हूँ.
Yeah, please.
Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjaya, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do? Hare Krishna.
Okay. So Abhi, let's look at these words properly. Yeah. So the first verse of this verse, first word of this verse is Dhritarashtra Uvacha, which means Uvacha meaning spoke. So who spoke? Dhritarashtra Uvacha. Dhritarashtra spoke. Okay, what did he speak? Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. Okay, so Kurukshetra is the place which is also known as Dharma Kshetra. So, when we say, right, let's say Karma Kshetre Dubai. So we are saying Dubai being the place and it is our Karma Kshetra, which means we are here in this place to perform our duties. So Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. Samaveta Yuyutsavaha. So Yuyutsav is basically to fight. Okay, with the intention to fight. Samaveta is gathered together. Okay, who has gathered? Mamakaha, meaning my sons, and Pandavaschaiva. Okay, meaning my sons and Pandu's sons. Okay, so now he is asking a question to Sanjay that in the holy place, the place of pilgrimage, that is Dharma Kshetre, whose name is Kurukshetra. Okay, my sons and Pandu's sons have assembled to fight. That is part one of the verse. And he is now asking a question, what did they do, O Sanjay? Okay, so what is this now? So his query is, after my sons and Pandu's sons have gathered into the Dharma Kshetra named as Kurukshetra, my sons and Pandu's sons assembled with the desire to fight, what did they do? That is the query. Now, do you see some problem in this particular query itself? What do you think?
I think Prabhuji,
हाँ,
Dhritarashtra is यहाँ पर he is probably looking, he is impatient. First of all, he want to know कि क्या हुआ.
हाँ,
Impatient है.
हाँ,
और obviously एक पिता है तो he want to probably hear कि मेरे पुत्र ही उसमें कैसा अच्छा करेंगे, मतलब they will win. That's what
हाँ,
I think. ऐसे पुत्र इच्छा
okay,
होगा.
okay.
तो
तो
पुत्र मोह
हाँ,
रहेगा प्रभु.
हाँ,
Right.
okay. So पहली बात मतलब क्या होता है कि he is clearly highlighting or basically displaying his intentions here. So पहले के जमाने में कैसा था कि the Chacha or basically father's brother was also considered to be a father-like figure, and both used to get equal respect. Now, in the case of Pandu's sons, especially when Pandu died quite early, Dhritarashtra had, raised both, meaning all the five Pandavas. And from that perspective, he was like a father-like figure for them, father-like person. And from that perspective, he should not have distinguished between his sons and Pandu's sons there. But he continued this discrimination throughout their life, which was the same thing that came out now in this particular verse also. He could have actually asked basically, what did both the parties do? He did not have to discriminate it between my sons and Pandu's sons. So that was first indication of his mentality. Now there is another big point that comes out here, that when let's say five friends assemble together to go to a restaurant, so there is a sixth friend who purposely doesn't go and who is very curious to find out what happened after they went to the restaurant. Now, isn't it very logical and very obvious that when you go to a restaurant, your objective is to eat food over there? So you don't go and ask everybody, what did you do after going to the restaurant? It is because your expectation is a bit different than eating food over there. So let's say somebody has planted a bomb under one of the tables. So his expectation is when people go to restaurant, in addition to eating food, there is some event that is going to happen, which means the bomb is going to be blasted and people are expected to be injured or died over there. So here the expectation of that individual is a bit different than the normal one. Now Dhritarashtra is asking, what did my friends and Pandu's, my sons and Pandu's sons do after assembling on the battlefield? After assembling on the battlefield means you are expected to fight when you reach to the battlefield. There cannot be any other outcome. But his expectation is there will be another outcome. And what is that expectation? That expectation is about two things. One is the place, Dharma Kshetra, Kurukshetra, can have an impact on Duryodhan. He is thinking that it shouldn't happen that the place of pilgrimage creates an impact on Duryodhan, because of which he becomes very favorable to the Pandavas, and then he decides to give up their own share of the kingdom back to them. He doesn't want that to happen. So that is his one other mentality. And his other thought process is people like Yudhishthir will definitely be influenced by the place of pilgrimage. And there is a good possibility that Yudhishthir may think, why to kill so many people just for a piece of land? Let me avoid the war. Let me not demand my share of the kingdom. Let's cancel the war. In both the scenarios, he is thinking that there is one probability of benefit and one probability of loss. So he's worried what can actually happen. And that's why he is impatiently, as Prabhu rightly pointed out, impatiently asking Sanjay what happened after both the parties reached to the battlefield to fight. Okay. Now let's look at a bit of a history. Kurukshetra had few other names also. It was also called as Brahma Kshetra. It was also called as Bhrugu Kshetra, and it was also called as Samanta Panchak. Okay. So why was it called as Kurukshetra? Because King Kuru did quite a few activities in that area. So it is said that there are these two rivers, Saraswati and Drishadwati. Kurukshetra is situated between that. Now, Vaman Puran and even Mahabharata also, they write about what did King Kuru do over there. So he went there on a golden chariot, and he made a plow over there, and he borrowed Lord Shiva's bull also, and Yamraj's buffalo, and he started plowing over there. So when Indra came to know about it, he reached to King Kuru and asked him what he was doing. So King Kuru, he replied that he was preparing the land to grow 8 religious virtues: truthfulness, sacrifice, kindness, purity, charity, forgiveness, austerity, and celibacy. These are the 8 things he wanted to cultivate. And Indra was very happy with that. So Indra asked the king to request a boon. And Kuru said that this land should always remain a holy place. And whatever activity one does in that place, he will go to heaven, irrespective of what sins or pious activities he has committed. But Kuru and Indra was happy with him. Then even Then basically then Indra also had his own concerns, but finally after the discussion happens and they both arrive at some kind of compromise. So Indra allowed, he said, I will admit anybody into heaven who died there while performing any kind of sacrifice or fighting in a holy war. So that's why you might have heard about this one, that everybody who died in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, minimum benefit they got was they went to heaven. That was the minimum benefit. Now, why this verse is important? So when we see that a small seed can give rise to a tree as big as even banyan tree. So the way banyan tree is huge, equal importance is there for the seed also. So this way, this particular verse is considered to be a seminal verse, which means it has given a huge amount of benefit to all of us in terms of Bhagavad Gita being spoken over there. See, Bhagavad Gita could have actually been, spoken by Krishna to Arjun at any other time also. Why did he choose that particular war like moment itself? So this particular verse actually exposes the Bhagavad Gita to people like us. That's why this verse carries its own importance. It is mentioned in Mahabharata in a section named as Bhishma Parva from chapters 23 till 40. Now, I'm not going into deeper stuff now because there is a mechanism by which we study Bhagavad Gita, right? It is not a story book wherein you just read it once and you will remember the story. So Bhagavad Gita is deeply philosophical. There is a very good chance that you might sometimes not understand anything. Yeah. But the way we continued our education, sometimes in grade 5, grade 10 also, we sometimes did not understand certain topics of certain subjects, but we continued studying, and over a period of time we realized that we have now studied those difficult topics. Similar cases with Bhagavad Gita also. We don't need to be discouraged if certain topics have not been understood. I am here. I will try my best to explain all these topics to you. And even if these topics still you find it difficult, still it doesn't matter. We can continue go on studying over a period of repeated studying. Some of these topics will become simple for us to understand. Now, let's look at the name of the first chapter. In the English version, it is mentioned observing the armies of the battlefield. Okay, which when you translate that in Sanskrit, it means Sainya Niriksha Yoga. There is another name also for this chapter, which is Arjun Vishad Yoga, and both are appropriate. So Sainya Niriksha meaning from the first verse of this chapter till the 20th verse, it is describing, these verses describe the arrangements of both the armies and the actions that they performed before Arjun started speaking to Krishna. So that is why it is called as Sainya Niriksha Yoga. Once Arjun speaks from verses 21 till 23 and Sanjay describes his situation to Dhritarashtra, then from verse 28 till verse 45, Arjun speaks out 4 arguments why he does not want to fight. And Arjun has spoken that with lot of grief. That's why it is also named as Arjun Vishad Yoga. Vishad is basically grief. So the grief of Arjun is spoken out by himself in these verses. So 2 different sections of the first chapter are named, chapters are named differently. So we talked about Dhritarashtra's mentality, differentiating between his children and Pandu's children. Now we'll look at one other point. So how was Sanjay able to see the events happening on the battlefield of Kurukshetra? Does anyone remember this incident? Anyone knows what this incident is?
प्रभु जी याद पूरा तो नहीं है, फिर भी ट्राई। आई
Yeah.
थिंक जब ये युद्ध हो गया, निश्चित कि युद्ध होगा, तो धृतराष्ट्र ने इच्छा जताई कि वो भी इसको देखना चाहता है। तो जो महर्षि व्यास थे, उन्होंने संजय को दिव्य दृष्टि दी, जिससे वो इस युद्ध को धृतराष्ट्र को आई थिंक विजुलाइज करवा सके या बता सके।
ओके, सो एक्चुअली क्या हुआ था कि व्यासदेव केम टू धृतराष्ट्र and he wanted to warn him about the mistake that he is committing to let the war happen. So Vyasdev, after he realized that Dhritarashtra is hell-bent upon ensuring that the war happens, then Vyasdev angrily he tells him, okay, fine, you still want the war to happen, you can see the destruction by yourself. And then he says, I am going to give you Divya Drushti, by which you can see what's happening in the war and how your sons will get killed, and you can see the destruction by yourself. So then Dhritarashtra becomes scared and he says, no, I don't want to see that. You better give this Divya Drushti to Sanjay. Let Sanjay describe it to me, and I will see it via Sanjay's eyes. And that is when Sanjay gets this Divya Drushti. And you may notice in the 18th chapter, in the 75th verse, Sanjay mentions it as well. Vyasa Prasadan Mayachyuta, meaning I got this Divya Drushti because of the mercy displayed by my spiritual master Vyasdev. And Vyas Rishi is called as with different names. He is also called as Krishna Dvaipayan Veda Vyas also. And he, Vyas Rishi, was the one who wrote 4 Vedas. Wrote meaning not technically writing, but basically compiling the 4 Vedas, 108 Upanishads, many different Samhitas also, and 18 Puran also, plus Itihas also, Mahabharata. So the compilation of all of this has been done by Vyas Rishi. Now we can move on to the next verse. If you have any question around this one, please let me know.
प्रभु जी, जो कुरुक्षेत्र स्थान की अभी भी महिमा है जैसा पहले थी,
Yes.
या मतलब
Yes,
तो
Prabhu.
अभी क्या महिमा है प्रभु?
Bro, Mahima to same hai. Mahima hasn't changed.
अच्छा अच्छा।
In fact, many a times, like especially ISKCON में हम लोग जब यात्रा पे गए थे, तो रामायण यात्रा हो या जो भी अदर यात्रास हो, many of our colleagues we have ensured that the yatra starts from Kurukshetra. So we take the blessings of Kurukshetra place and then we start off our yatra that way.
ओके ओके प्रभु जी, थैंक यू।
Hare Krishna. So let's read the next verse. Sanjaya Uvacha
Sanjay
जय
Uvacha
उवाच
Drishtva tu Pandavanikam
दृष्ट्वा तु
tu Pandava
पाण्डवानीकम्
Kam
Vyudham Duryodhanastada
व्यूढम् दुर्योधनस्तदा
Acharyam
आचार्यम् उपसंगम्य
Raja Vachanam Abravit.
राजा
राजा
वचनम्
वचनम्
अब्रवीत्।
अब्रवीत्।
Translation कौन पढ़ रहा है?
प्रभु जी, shall I try?
Yeah, please.
Hare Krishna. Sanjay said, O king, after looking over the army arranged in military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words.
Okay. So अभी क्या हुआ है? Dhritarashtra has asked a question to Sanjay, and now Sanjay is describing what's happening on the battlefield. Okay. Now, the first thing is Duryodhan has Acharyam Upasangamya, meaning he approaches the teacher who Dronacharya, Acharya, right? Dronacharya. And why he is going to speak now? He is going to speak to Dronacharya, but he is a bit surprised. Why is he surprised? Now let's see. let's say you play the game of say football. Okay, तो फुटबॉल में अगर सामने वाली टीम को you have estimated their strength. Okay, you have assumed that these people, the opponents, are good up to a certain level. But if they face you in a match and you, by looking at them, you realize that their strength is far more than the estimated strength, then you become surprised. And that is precisely what has happened here. So why this is a bit surprise for Arjun, sorry, Duryodhan? Because Duryodhan thought that within 1 to 2 days, I should be able to defeat all Pandavas. Why did he think so? Because he thought that people like Bhishma, Dronacharya are on my side, who can never be defeated by anybody, let alone Arjun. By anybody, nobody can defeat Bhishma and Dronacharya. So what is the probability that the Pandavas can stand in front of these two people? Zero. I will be able to defeat all of them. Why? Because Bhishma and Drona are on my side. So having estimated their strength accordingly, when they saw the army of Pandavas arranged in such a brilliant manner, then he becomes highly surprised. And he becomes surprised and he approaches Dronacharya, and he is now going to speak to Dronacharya. Okay, so this is the background to this particular verse. Why is he concerned? Because he underestimated Pandavas, and he thought they will be a cakewalk, meaning winning will be a cakewalk for me. Small things we need to understand here. There is one word used, acharya, here. So acharya meaning a kind of generally a teacher. So there are various types of various words which in Sanskrit which refer to teacher. There is a teacher who teaches, there is a teacher who practices, there is a teacher who basically teaches only in terms of theory, there is teacher who teaches in terms of his behavior, and various other things are there. There is a gradation also among teachers. So one of the highest level teachers is called as acharya. Dronacharya was given that particular position. What did Dronacharya teach both the Pandavas and Kauravas? Anybody knows?
I think Prabhuji शस्त्र विद्या धनुर्विद्या हर तरह
Yeah,
की विद्याएं सिखाया था हमको, right?
military warfare basically was taught by him, right? Okay. So there is another word, Raja, used over there. So Raja has two things, two meanings. One is the noun, and the one is a reference also, meaning hey Raja. So I'm actually proclaiming somebody as a Raja, and as a verb also I'm referring to somebody else as a Raja. Now there are two interpretations of this particular word Raja used here, and both are appropriate. One is he is calling Duryodhan as the Raja, which means he is actually making Dhritarashtra very happy that Duryodhan is being called as Raja, which means Sanjay forces him to become a king of Hastinapur sometime later. And the other one is O Raja, meaning O King Dhritarashtra, I am going to describe something to you. So that second meaning also is appropriate, which means he is telling, O King, O Dhritarashtra. Now Duryodhan approached Dronacharya and he is about to speak to him. So he is conveying the situation of the battlefield to him. In both the contexts, the word Raja can be interpreted in both the perspectives, and both are appropriate. Now a question comes up as to why did Duryodhan approach Dronacharya, not Bhishma? So who was the chief commander of Kauravas? Anybody?
भीष्मा थे प्रभुजी.
Correct. So Bhishma chief commander होने के बावजूद Duryodhan approached Dronacharya. And there are quite a few reasons to it. Firstly, being a guru, Duryodhan is expected to pay highest respects to his guru. Now, Hare Krishna. So Duryodhan would also is a highly diplomatic person, and we will see the Duryodhana's diplomacy in the upcoming verses. And based on that diplomacy, Duryodhan was worried that if I approach Bhishma, Dronacharya would feel bad. But if I approach Dronacharya, Bhishma will not feel bad. So that's why he decides to approach Dronacharya and highlights few things to him. And one of the things he highlights is a mistake which Dronacharya has committed. According to Duryodhan, Duryodhan wants to highlight it to him, which will come in the next verse, the third verse. Another reason is Bhishma was bound by his vow, whereas Dronacharya was not bound by any vow. So he wanted the discussion to happen with Dronacharya and highlight it to him that there are certain things that are expected from him and which he should fulfill and not have any compassion towards Pandavas. So these are the reasons why he approaches Dronacharya and not Bhishma. Okay, so let's move on to the next verse. If you feel I'm going a bit fast, let me know. These are some verses which don't have any significance on the philosophy on the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. So it is okay for us to go fast. But in case you feel there are some more details required, please do let me know. Okay, so let's read the third verse. Pashyaitam Panduputranam
Pashyata Panduputraya
Panduputranam
Acharya Mahatim Chamum
Acharya Mahatim Chamum
Vyudham Drupada Putrena
Yudha Putrena
Yudham Drupada Putrena
Tava Shishyena Dhimata.
Vashishyena dhimata.
Tava Shishyena Dhimata.
Translation.
Prabhuji, can we read again this shloka? It was
Okay.
little.
Okay, sure. Pashyaitam Panduputranam
Pashyantam
Pashetam
Panduputranam
Panduputranam
Acharya Mahatim Chamum
Acharya
Acharya
Mahatim
Mahatinchamam
Chamam
Vyudham Drupada Putrena
Vyodham
Yudam
Drupadaputrena
Drupadaputrena
Tava Shishyena Dhimata.
Tava
Tava
Shishyena
Shishena
dhimata.
Dhimata.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Translation. Who's reading? Who's reading translation?
Okay, I'll read.
Yes, please.
O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada.
Okay. So now, what do you think? What is he trying to communicate here? What do you think? So Duryodhan is a kind of a diplomatic person. Plus, he is somebody who doesn't forgive for somebody. He doesn't forgive anybody for the mistakes they have committed, and he enjoys hurting people either by words or by actions. So what is he trying to do? After seeing the army of the Pandavas, he becomes a bit worried. He is a bit surprised, and that drags him towards Dronacharya. And why Dronacharya? Because he wants to prove a point over there to him. And what that point is, that he wants to highlight Dronacharya that you've committed some mistake because of which we are seeing this particular day. And what is that mistake? So look at the words he has used. Drupada Putrena. and Tava Shishyena Dhimata. These are the words which actually highlight what he wants to communicate. So Vyudham means the military arrangement, the way the complete military force has been arranged. Arranged by whom? So who's the chief commander of Pandavas? Any idea? Anybody? No? Bhishma, was it Bhishma?
No.
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 So it was Drishtadyumna. Drishtadyumna was the son of who?
Drupada.
Raja
Drupada.
Drupad.
Yeah. So what happened because of which Duryodhana is highlighting in this manner? So he does not use the word, his name Drishtadyumna here. He uses two qualifications. First is Drupada Putrena, meaning he is the son of Drupada. And not just that, he is Tava Shishyena, meaning he is your disciple. So what has happened? Let's go into a bit of a history. Okay. So Drupad and Dronacharya, they used to attend the same Gurukul, despite the fact that Drupad was the son of a king, whereas Dronacharya was a son of a poor Brahmin. And despite the differences in their backgrounds, they developed a very good friendship among themselves. And in that friendship, in that moment of affection, Drupad told Dronacharya one day that when he inherits the kingdom, he will give half of the kingdom to Dronacharya. Yeah. Dronacharya took those words very seriously. And after a long time, after they graduated from the Gurukul, after a long time, Dronacharya entered his Grihastha life. And one day he he found his son is crying for milk, and he asks the Dronacharya. Dronacharya's wife was named as Krupi. Krupi meaning the wife of Kripacharya. So you might have seen Kripacharya also as one of the fighters fighting on the side of Kauravas. So Krupi was the wife of sister of Kripacharya. And so he asked Krupi as to why he is crying, why can't you give him milk? Then she says, we do not have absolutely anything to give to him. So then he remembered the promise Drupad had made, and he set out to Drupad asking for the half of the kingdom. And when he arrived at Drupad's place, Drupad laughed at him and he said, are you really serious? You know, can friendship happen between two people who are not equal to each other? You know, it is illogical, it is laughable that you are coming to me and asking me this, you know. And he says, you should go out of this place immediately. Dronacharya was quite insulted and he decided to take revenge. And over a period of time, he trained the Kauravas and the Pandavas properly in the military warfare. And when it came time for both of them to give back the Guru Dakshina to Dronacharya, both of them asked, what should we do? And both of them were given a chance. So the first Kauravas were told that they should go and capture Drupad and bring him to Dronacharya. Kauravas tried, they did not succeed. Then Pandavas tried, they succeeded and brought Drupada as a captive prisoner in front of Dronacharya. And then Dronacharya had a discussion with Drupada and all that. And finally, Drupad was given back his own kingdom, and half of it he retained as something like that. So Drupad was very, very angry after this one. He was very insulted, and then he wanted to do a yagya, which was named as Putra Kameshti Yajna. That Putra Kameshti Yajna was successful, and because of some technical glitches here and there, instead of the Putra alone being born, Putri Draupadi was also born from the yagya, and Drishtadyumna was born. And the Drishtadyumna was born with the only intention of killing Dronacharya, because Drupad knew he cannot defeat Dronacharya by himself. When this was done, when Drishtadyumna was born, Drupad also knew that there is no better military teacher than Dronacharya. And when he approached Dronacharya to teach the military warfare to Drishtadyumna, Dronacharya knew at that time what is the intention behind it. But despite that, Dronacharya decides, I will teach your son. And he teaches everything to him, to Drishtadyumna. And that is the mistake Duryodhan is pointing it out, saying that we are at this particular stage and the military formation of Pandavas is so expertly arranged by your Tava Shishyena Dhimata. Dhimata meaning intelligent. The intelligent disciple, only because you taught the military warfare to him. And this is what the mistake that Duryodhan is pointing out to Dronacharya. So, so he is, hinting in both ways, Drupada Putrena as well as Tava Shishyena. That is the point. So we can also see good qualities of Dronacharya being seen from this incident, that despite being aware that the Drishtadyumna has been born to kill him, Dronacharya does not hesitate to train him. That is the liberality of a Brahmana's heart. So Dronacharya is saying that it is the wish of the Lord. Who am I to stop the wish of the Lord from being executed? So if the Lord wishes him to kill me, then so be it. Let me be killed by him. My objective is to train people. I will train him. Shall we take one more verse? Are you okay?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes.
अत्र शूरा महे. हाँ प्रभु जी. हाँ प्रभु, आप कुछ बोल रहे थे? नहीं. ओके फाइन. अत्र शूरा महेश्वासा
अत्र शूरा महेश्वासा
भीमार्जुन समायुधि
भीमार्जुन समायुधि
Samayudhi,
युयुधानो विराटश्च
युयोधानो विराटश्च
द्रुपदश्च महारथः.
द्रुपदश्च महारथः.
Translation.
Shall I read, Prabhu?
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna. Here in this army are many heroic bowmen equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna. Great fighters like Yudhana, Vira,
And Drupad.
Virta, and Drupad. Okay.
Yeah. So now is the time when Duryodhan starts describing the Pandavas' army to Dronacharya. Okay, so the first thing he is highlighting is that there are great fighters in the Pandavas' army, both in terms of their capability as well as their strength. They are equal in fighting. They're equal to Bhim and Arjun also. And so why Bhim and Arjun? Because when it came to the prominent fighters of Pandavas or Pandav army, the first two names that could come in anybody's mind is Bhim and Arjun. And that's why he is comparing the other fighters also to say that they are equal in strength. So now he has now started describing the strength, and he has also started naming the people. So the first three names that come out is Yuyudhana. So anybody knows who Yuyudhan is? Probably no, because this is not the regular name by which this person was known. So you might have heard of this.
दुर्योधन का ये नाम था मेरे ख्याल से प्रभु.
Sorry, प्रभु.
दुर्योधन का ही नाम था क्या प्रभु जब वो पैदा हुआ था?
nahi. So he wouldn't name himself, right? And he is not on the side of Pandavas. So Yuyudhan is the name of Satyaki. So you might have heard Satyaki. Yeah? Satyaki was constantly with Krishna. And Satyaki was the person who was never defeated in any single war. Nobody could defeat Satyaki. So that was Satyaki there. Then Virat. So many of you may know Virat, right? So Virat was the kingdom where the Pandavas and Draupadi spent their 13th year. In the 13th year, they were not supposed to be recognized by anybody. And they hid their original identity and they took shelter in the kingdom of Virat. The name of the king was also Virat itself. So Virat is that person, so who fought on the side of Pandavas. So Virat was also a commander of one of the segments of Pandav army. So these segments are known as Akshauhini. So Akshauhini is a measurement of a size of an army. And there were 7 Akshauhini worth army on the side of Pandavas and 11 Akshauhini worth army in the on the Kauravas side. And what does one Akshauhini contain? So Akshauhini consists of 21,870 chariots. 20 and every chariot will have a chariot driver also. 21,870 elephants were also there. And every elephant will have an elephant rider also. Then 65,610 cavalry would be there, and 109,350 infantry would be there. So that there is a kind of a specific ratio. So 1 chariot to 1 elephant to 3 cavalrymen to 5 infantry soldiers. And every Akshauhini had 1 commander assigned to him. And then there was a chief commander. Okay. So that way, Virat was one of the commanders. Satyaki was another commander. Drupad is the third name. We saw that Drupad was also a commander of 1 Akshauhini. We famously know him that he is the father of Draupadi. And despite the Pandavas capturing Drupad and handing over to Dronacharya, Drupad did not maintain any enmity towards Pandavas. Okay. And he was more upset and he wanted to fight the war and he wanted to kill the Kauravas because Draupadi was insulted by Duryodhan, Dushasan and Karna. Now we can actually stop here. If you are okay, we can take 1 or 2 more verses. If you don't want, we can stop here. What do you prefer? Hare Krishna.
You can stop here, Prabhu.
Fine. So we'll continue from verse number 5 next week onwards. Yeah. Any question? Anybody?
No, Prabhu.
Okay. Nobody has any question, right? So I will try to take around 5 to 7 verses every week so that we can go a little bit fast as well. And it will not be too fast, wherein we can focus on the philosophy as well.
Okay, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So see you next week. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Let's pray for everyone. Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat.
Dandavat Pranam. If you have any feedback, please feel free to let me know. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.